Good morning, everybody. We are continuing in the Gospel of John today, chapter 19, and we are reading the events that John wanted us to make sure that we knew about in the final hours before Jesus went to the cross. And we go back a few days and we read about Palm Sunday, the day that Jesus entered the city of Jerusalem, the day that many eyewitnesses had been there present to watch Jesus perform the miracle of all miracles, the raising of his friend Lazarus from the dead. And people of Jerusalem now, they wanted to crown Jesus to be the new political king of Israel. And no more Roman rule. We will have our own personal king. And of course, the Jewish religious leaders, they were probably threatened by Jesus because he has been gaining popularity, and perhaps Jesus was after their power. Is that a possibility? So the religious leaders and the Roman soldiers, they worked together and they actually arrested Jesus. And his arrest seemed to be the end to the King Jesus movement. And so John tells us that even Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, now denies that he even knows him. So in yesterday's reading, the Roman governor Pontius Pilate asks a question that I think is really very important and pertinent for all of us to understand. His words are you the king of the Jews? And John wants us to see who really is the king and what kind of king he is. And in fact, in chapter 18, verse 36, Jesus says this. He says, "My kingdom is not an earthly kingdom. If it were, my followers would fight to keep me from being handed over to the Jewish leaders. But my kingdom is not of this world." Pilate actually knew that Jesus was innocent, but he didn't want to go against the crowd. So he gives the crowd a choice. Instead of choosing to release the innocent Jesus, the one who some wanted to be the king, the crowd chooses to release a violent criminal. John wants us to know that Jesus' kingship is something much deeper and much more important than a political kingship. Jesus wants to be the king of our life. He wants to be the king of our hearts, the king of our time, of our pride, of everything. And the leaders, Rome, and even the people who were trying to crown him king didn't understand Jesus. Who is this guy? Who does he think he is? Caesar is the only king. So they decide to make fun of him. And they also are going to demand his life. We pick up in chapter 19, verses 3 through 8. "Hail, King of the Jews," they mocked as they slapped him across the face. Pilate went outside again and said to the people, "I'm going to bring him out to you now, but understand clearly that I find him not guilty." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said, "Look, here is the man." And when they saw him, the leading priests and temple guards began shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." "Take him yourselves and crucify him," Pilate said. "I find him not guilty." The Jewish leaders replied, "By our law he ought to die because he has called himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was more frightened than ever too. As we read this, we realize Pilate had a real dilemma, didn't he? He was actually on trial too. He didn't want to be the one to condemn Jesus. He knew that Jesus was innocent, and he knew that there was something different about Jesus. So he tries very hard to find a way to convince the crowd to back down on their desire to crucify Jesus. But it's clear that his desire to be popular with the crowd was stronger than his desire for what he knows is right. I've been like Pilate before. How about you? I wanted to stand up for what is right, but I remained silent because I saw the personal cost to it. Let's read on. Jesus tells us in Luke 9:23, it says, "If any of you wants to be my followers, you must turn from your selfish ways and take up your cross daily and follow me." John earlier in chapter 12 said this. He says, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat is planted into the soil and dies, it remains alone, but its death will produce many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. You see, Jesus is king. He is a servant king, a different kind of king than the people were looking for, a different kind of king than I think most of us are looking for at times. He voluntarily gave up his life because he knew that his death on the cross was the only way to pay the price for our sin. And he is calling each of us to lay down our lives. That is to give up our desires to always be in control, to lose our lives because we know that Jesus' kingship, King Jesus, will replace it with something much better. He wants us to trust him. And he proved that he loved us. He loves us very much by giving his life. So I ask you the question today that Pilate asked, that Jesus was asking. Who really is the king of your life? Who is the leader of your life? Is it Jesus? Is it the crowd? Is it just your own selfish desires? How about handing the leadership of your life over to the one who gave his life for us? And he is the one that has earned it today and every day. Have an amazing day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.